14-book series, a journey like no other. Characters that you grow to love and that really become your family over 14 books, where you're not just jumping from plot point to plot point to plot point. The Wheel of Time is the best series that I've ever read. Now, you've probably heard some of these criticisms like, there's too many named characters, there's too many plot threads going on, it's too hard to keep track of, it's obviously extremely long, the dreaded slog, the terrible slog. The first 3 books have the same structure, so it's very repetitive. Robert Jordan is also repetitive and too descriptive. He talks about the coats and then the lace on the coats and then the buttons on the cuff of the coats and then the metal on the buttons and then what color it is and where it came from. And that's really not an exaggeration. So with all these different flaws or negatives to the series and all these positives, what makes it so great? Why do I think you should read the series? Because there's a TV show coming out, and if you wait until afterward, it's not going to be as fun. So thank you for coming to my video today. I really appreciate y'all watching. If you haven't subscribed, I'm just messing with you. Yeah, The Wheel of Time. Read it for the first time this year, and I loved pretty much every second of the series. With hindsight being 2020, there are definitely things about the series that I would change if, could control things and make it where I liked it even more. But as it is, I think it was extremely worth it. I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made as a reader to read this series. All the flaws that I've already talked about just a second ago are real. They're definitely there. They're not overblown. But this series has a magic to it that it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm really going to try. The characters in The Wheel of Time are extremely well put together, personalities, their quirks and things like that. I love the characters and how they're set up. Because you have these 15 books with these slower moments, don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy a efficient story, but the problem with efficient stories is sometimes the characterization isn't as robust, and then sometimes they also become predictable because you're going from point to point so quickly. You can kind of start to see the layout of the story. So with The Wheel of Time and the characters specifically, with the story being so long, you get to know them on this intimate level. You get to know their idiosyncrasies. You get to see them argue with each other and constantly bicker, which to some people is annoying, but to me it feels like real life. It feels like that's how we are. Sometimes we don't realize we're bickering with each other. But we are, and you're just kind of squabbling, and that's okay. Like, that's how friends treat each other. That's how family treats each other. And to the characters, they become family and friends and something more. And to you, or to me, when I pick this book up, I feel like I'm going home for, Thanksgiving dinner. Like, I know these characters on such a deep level because I'm watching them literally journey across continents, and we're taking the time to watch them do this, to see them spend time together just pretty much doing nothing, just talking. Don't get me wrong, that's not all they're doing. There are plenty of epic moments along the way, character moments, reveals, deceptions and all kinds of things, betrayals. The thing is when you get to the end of the series, it feels so much more earned and worth the journey because you spent those slower moments with the characters. One little thing I did want to point out too, with how all that goes together with the character and how long the story is Robert Jordan's writing style. So he does third person. So usually you're in a point of view, and there's I'm not going to look this up, but there's hundreds of POV characters. One thing that he does, so a lot of authors do third person limited, where you can only see what the character POV that you're in is seeing. So if their head is turned, right, and somebody over here is doing something, you don't get to see that unless they hear it or smell it or something like that. What Robert Jordan does is kind of slightly breaks that. Sometimes just because you're in this person's POV, and let's say they're looking over here talking to this person, you'll still get character reactions all around the room that they're in. So I love that because it's just so unique. I can't think of any other author where you are so aware of small little things that are happening. For some people, that can be annoying. It can feel like, hey, that's a lot of description. Like, oh, she smoothed her skirts, she frowned, her eye twitched, and things like that. So you may have a line of dialogue, a whole big chunk of paragraph, kind of saying what people are wearing or different things, how they react to something that someone else said. But what it really does is, when you get introduced to the shadow, which is the big threat in the series, it's the big evil thing. It's both an organization and a force. When you know that that's there and you start to get all these little hints and things that could be red herrings, they can be real, and you just start to suspect everyone, it creates this very ominous feeling throughout the series. And it's scary. It just makes the world feel so real. I cannot fully explain it. From a male perspective, take this how you will or with a grain of salt, but I personally think that the male-female dynamic is done really well in The Wheel of Time. I think it makes sense within the world that women would be the dominant gender because of the magic system and how the male half is tainted and how that kind of has all men cast with this seed of doubt, and how Aes Sedai, being able to use the one power safely and having them as this example of female power that would change the gender dynamics. I do like that females in the series are kind of deferred to, and it's fun to see that versus most other fantasy series where if you get a female character, they're kind of just there to be there. They don't add a lot. This is definitely ahead of its time in that way. Actually, 3 of my favorite characters from the series, in like the top 5, are female. Moraine, Egwene, and Nynaeve. I think that they're done really well. I think that, yes, some of them can be annoying at times, but the guys can be annoying as well, or more. All right, and then the last kind of specific thing for me that really makes this series stand out and makes me want to go back and reread it is that because of those thousands of plot threads, so Robert Jordan just spins off all these different plot threads, like just constantly spinning them off. And I'm sure if you were reading the series as it was coming out, it was probably very thrilling to kind of theorize about where all this was going. But someone who was reading it after the whole series was completed, what I really liked about how many plot threads there were is that it creates this very unpredictable type of story. Like, where you're going at the very end of the series. You kind of know the last conflict that it's going to be there, but you don't know how it's going to turn out or, how they're going to possibly try to win this unwinnable battle. Along the way with all these plot threads as you're going, because there's so many, it's very hard to keep track of and all the named characters, where you're going to go or how you're going to get there. As you're reading, you can't just sit there and say, oh yeah, I know it's about to happen. Like, no, you literally can't. Basically, to summarize, it's got the best characters that I've ever read from start to finish. The magic system is incredible and fun and unique. Like I said, Robert Jordan's prose is just one of a kind. Like, there's nobody else like him. And then I guess the last thing I didn't talk about is the ending. And the way Brandon Sanderson came in, he didn't do it perfectly, but overall, he wrapped it up very well. It feels super satisfying. And I can pretty much guarantee if you get past book 3, you'll be hooked. And you got that TV show coming. It's been potentially delayed with the release date again. We'll see how that all shakes out. But that just gives you plenty of time to read it before then. At least get the first couple books knocked out so you can enjoy the TV show and see it all come to life. This is Fantasy Talk. Thank you for watching. My name's Chase. If you'd like to subscribe, it's a simple click of the button. And then you get notified for all these different videos that I do and stuff. And my voice is going to keep going up really high, so I'll just see you guys later, and y'all have a good one, and take it easy.